This morning, the Standing Committee brought their proposals for the regionalization package, many of which were approved by a very high majority on their committee and were on the consent calendar, so those were approved earlier in the day. This last petition that we just passed was the one that contained the constitutional amendments for making all of these changes, and that required a higher bar, a 2/3 majority vote. No, is that right? 2/3, yeah, 2/3. Yeah, I had those percentages. I kept thinking 66 and 75 as we were coming up on the board, but either way, it was good. So it's 2/3 majority, and that vote came up in this session, which was requested by the delegates to continue the plenary this morning to consider that. But I do want to address one of the concerns was whether having not all of the delegates present at the General Conference would affect this. But the vote total that we had was greater than the number if all delegates had been seated. It would, the positive votes, positive votes would have still carried with all delegates, even if they had all voted in opposition. So I think that's a significant point. So Standing Committee brought these petitions to us, and I'm going to turn to Dee.
And I think the other thing that's really critical to say and to emphasize is that these petitions originated with the Christmas Covenant, which were also majority of lay and clergy members from our central conferences. And so the root of these petitions really come from those of us in our central conferences. I think that's something to be celebrated because it is very rare in past general conferences where it is the voices of our central conferences who have the center stage and prevail. And so I celebrate that this is a beginning of a new way of being a worldwide church where our voices of leaders from our central conferences are actually heard, are read, and we can begin to listen to one another in new ways. And I look forward to being able to live into a reality where the United States is not at the center of our denomination. I believe that it is not helpful for us to be at the center of our denomination, and that we need to be in relationship and in mission and ministry with our brothers and sisters around the world.
I believe it's a historic day for our church, and it's a day that we can really celebrate, even though there's more work to be done. And a great thing happened just a few minutes ago. The overwhelming vote, 78% in favor, is a real signal that the delegates of this General Conference want to move forward in mission and vision. And we look forward to that momentum being carried through with other votes that will be taken throughout this week. And so this is a moment of real celebration, and it's just a great pleasure to be a part of it as we continue to work for the next expression of United Methodism.
And for this body, this assembly, to affirm this at the level that they have, also, as Bishop Bickerton indicated, and I fully agree, it sends a clear signal that the church is ready to embrace a new way forward, the next expression of the United Methodist Church. We are a beautiful, diverse, international, worldwide church. And the regionalization plan is a reflection of what that looks like. Yes, it decenters the U.S., but it also dismantles colonialism, giving a sense of agency, a sense of autonomy.
Thank you, Bishop. My name is Reverend Ande Emmanuel, clergy delegate from the Southern Nigeria Annual Conference of the Nigeria Episcopal Area, West Africa Central Conference. I am so much glad that this is happening now and at this time. This has tremendously addressed one of the concerns that many of us in Africa has, to decentralize powers within the United Methodist Church in the U.S. Most often when we come to this general conference, majority of the conversation in this space is centered on the United States. But today we have taken a journey whereby every region within our church will be on the same level.
As my brother Reverend Andy said, to me, not only the church will be empowered by handling their own issues. Honestly, General Conference has been really sitting and handling issues that may not necessarily affect the church worldwide. There are issues that really concern maybe one region, not the entire world. And we spend 2 weeks deciding or discussing on issues that do not really affect the entire world. I think this legislation will more concentrate on connectional issues that really matters for the entire church, and leave those other issues to regions, because we live in different contexts, and we need to do ministry within our own context. What matters in Africa may not necessarily matter to the U.S. church, and what matters to U.S. church may not necessarily matter to the African church. Yes, we voted for, but I think in itself, it's really not the end. It's really the beginning of the entire process. There are many issues to deal with, and I believe we better start with something, and we've started, and let's keep going with any room of improvement, because legislation needs to have any room of improvement. But we need to start somewhere, and that's what I think the General Conference of 2024 has done, to start from somewhere so that maybe in the future we keep on reflecting on how we do our ministry in a better way. Thank you very much.
We don't want anybody to be at the center except for our Lord Jesus Christ, and all of us will exist with total equity, sharing the gifts and the resources that we may offer to each other, so that the spirituality called United Methodist will grow and flourish in different contexts and in different parts of the world.
I just want to add to what Judi just said. It's not just the challenge of what lies ahead with the aggregate votes, it's the opportunity to create and promote a narrative across the breadth of the church, so that the people in the pew, if you will, in the annual conferences, will be able to embrace this concept that's been overwhelmingly supported here at General Conference.
Eric Alsgaard from Baltimore Washington Conference. With the regionalization, if it all comes to pass, all the constitutional amendments are done, would that mean that General Conference, each region would have its own General Conference, or would they all still come together? Would that change at all?
And the goal of that is to not really subject persons to be sitting and having to make decisions about things that don't even impact them directly. So matters that need to be cared for regionally will be cared for in those regional conferences. And as was already stated, those things that affect us generally and as a worldwide church, those matters will still be cared for at the general conference level.
When we were getting ready to take the vote, my fellow delegates on either side of me in West Ohio just leaned over and said, "Dee, this is going to work." And I said, you know, I came into this General Conference with an incredibly deep spirit of hope, something very different than the other General Conferences that I've come to before.